So 5-1 Ethereal is my prediction.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, players are in the lobby. There's just one more player left, waiting to be ready here, and they're picking all their weapons. We're gonna be heading into game one any second now. And yeah, I think it's gonna be more or less what we talked about earlier. This is gonna be. I mean, we're kind of hyping up Ethereal here, saying that this is probably going to be their game, but I'm absolutely willing to be shown up by Gagaku, who can just maybe show up to this match right now and just completely prove me wrong. That would be awesome. I'm down for that.
Now we're seeing the taps here. One team is very much ready, but hey, if you've got every second, why not just to talk? And now we see a member of Gagaku not locked in. Nile and Clown switching there, but we are finally in. Going to be getting into it. Splat Zones on Blackbelly Skate Park. Game one of this best of 9 set. Let's get into it.
So we do see kind of what we were talking about earlier. We do have that Tri-Slosher as well as 2 Blasters and then the Stingray coming out right now on, I believe that is Ethereal. Yeah, that is Ethereal running that composition. So they've got that kind of chip burst damage that we were talking about before. And it's actually pretty similar on the other side as well, on the side of Gagaku. They're running sort of the same thing. They've got the Machine and the Blaster, which really combo together, the burst bombs from the custom Jet Squelcher, and as well as the Splatter Shot and the Splashdown. A lot of this stuff just really adds up. And I think what you're really looking for in team comps in this current meta is stuff like what I talked about earlier. You want those damage totals between 2 weapons to easily tick over 100.
Seeing here, Kirito kind of getting picked off here on the side, but does a great job of winning that 1v1 versus Ben in a disadvantageous situation. And Kirito is actually going to be using the Sloshing Machine Neo. It does have this nice Splat Bomb launcher here. We all love Splat Bombs here. Going to just kind of zone him out a little bit. Saw that the sniper was up there, but the sniper says, I have a weapon with infinite range. I'm fine with that, as Kirito somehow manages to work a trade out of that situation. Not a lot of points on the team or on the board for either team, though, so still a very even early game as we get through this first minute.
And we do have Serenity here back here with the Stingray, and that's going to be opening up a lot of stuff for Gagaku to kind of push into the center of the map right now. They are going to grab that early lead. It's not really much of a lead, of course, but the timer's still ticking down. Nile here with this Blasters, just doing some sharking. Again, like when you're running a team comp like this, all you got to do is just get one hit into someone and then call them out, and then hopefully your teammate's close enough to catch them. But that's a quick 4 down from Ethereal. That was a very clean wipe coming out onto them, as Ethereal is starting off pretty strong here. It looks like Wadam is going to fall down on the side here in these half pipes, and it's going to kind of give it a little avenue on the right side of the map for Gagaku to push back in. But timer's ticking down here. They're just about past 60 points now for Ethereal, and Gagaku has to make something happen right now. They're losing time.
And this is one of those maps where you can continue to put lots of offensive pressure on the other team because you have so much room around that hill area to do so. So even if you do go in maybe a little too deep, you can usually make something happen. As we see a 4 down situation going the other way now. Nobody wants to stay alive on this map, I guess.
Oh, that's kind of the thing with Blackbellies. It's so small when you've got all these weapons with the range, like the Rapid Blaster, the Jet Squelcher, and the Charger, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. When you got weapons like that, it's pretty difficult to stay alive. I think in most cases between you know, any good teams, I think Blackbelly is going to be one of those more higher kill death games between any good team.
I believe Sendou had like 20 earlier here. I was seeing both Blasters kind of dance around here at the middle. Ben actually in a really good position here until he gets taken down by that splashdown. The Stingray going to come in and kind of clean up a little bit. Gagaku's looked really good, though. Ever since going down big time, it's actually been them putting the pressure on. And I think that right now, Ethereal's just getting a little bit too kind of antsy to push back in there. You saw him jumping back in. Ben now might get 2v1 here if they call out where Ben is hiding on the other side of that tower. And there are going to be some splat bombs going up there to just continue to take this zone back. Ben in a rough position, still alive somehow, actually manages to take back the zone as a result. And we're going to see that Stingray come back in again, but this has just gone back and forth over and over.
Yeah, really good splashdown there from Ben. It kind of delayed this zone capture from Gagaku. Like, it looks like Ethereal was actually trying to get the zone back there, and Gagaku was using the bomb rush to kind of slow down their push. They dropped a few players, and they threw out that bomb rush to try and take the zone. And Ben actually used that splashdown to kind of delete some of those bombs and try and give their team a little bit more of a longer opening to get back in, but it looks like it wasn't enough. They finally do get it, and Ethereal's pushing back into the zone right now. They got a pretty hefty penalty to deal with and some more points to go on top of that if they want the lead with just over a minute left in the game. They do have a little bit of work cut out for them, but it's looking okay right now as there's 2 players down for Gagaku, and Ethereal, but they're not looking at the zones. Nile found one. This actually could be bad. They got one of those zones. They're going to be pushing the second. pretty quick here. Ethereal needs to make something happen right now. The Stingray is going to come out. They drop 2 players. That's 3 players with a nice direct onto Gray. And that might be a zone that, yeah, they're going to capture the zone. And that's going to be the penalty re-added on top of Ethereal. And Nile is hitting some really good shots right now.
We talk so much about team composition. Sometimes players just make plays. That's what that was. Nile opened up that almost single-handedly. There was some action going on the other side. I believe Kirito was the one who made that happen. But Nile just did so much work. However, it doesn't end up meaning a whole lot here. They do get a couple of points, but the penalty is still very hefty. As we see Ethereal start to tick down, gonna have to be very careful here. When is Watson gonna try to go in? They know that Watson's there. Watson can't go in like he'd like to. He might be able to clean this up here. No, he does get one. Gets both. Huge play from Watson there.
Wow,
wait,
1 point though?
wait,
1 point? They're gonna try and get it?
Oh,
they get it just at the very end of the match as it ticks into overtime. Watson with a huge clutch play sitting on top of that zone is pretty much what secured them that game. I think if Watson fell there, I don't think Ethereal would have had the manpower to try and keep that zone up. And I think Gagaku definitely would have snatched that zone from them. So as we were saying earlier, we thought Ethereal was going to be pretty dominant in this set, but so far it looks like Gagaku's kind of giving them a run for their money.
Yeah, very even there, where it comes down to a play like that, where one player has to get 2 in a bad situation in order to secure the win. Generally, that means that as a team, you did the right things, right? You put yourself in a great position to get the win. But as we said earlier, sometimes great players just make great plays.
Yeah, it just comes down to that clutch factor. That's the way a lot of teams work right now. Is you got those star players, those key players that are able to do stuff like that, and you definitely would not expect any player to come up with the W in that situation. But Wasdom said that they said they were comfortable. They showed us that they were comfortable, and they didn't panic. They didn't get pressured out. They stayed composed, and they found the 2 picks and they found the win.
Looks like we got some subs going here. We talked a little about this earlier, but these are 2 of the bigger teams, right? We said Gagaku has 7 players that are... We don't know if all 7 of them reported today, but we know that 7 different players have competed for Gagaku in a somewhat consistent fashion. And it's almost the same for Ethereal. I have 6 down for them, I believe. So enough that both teams are going to be able to sub here. For Rainmaker Kelp Dome, it'll be interesting here. We saw Team Olive opt to use that brand stinking new H3 there, that has that ink armor, that suction bomb, that range, just kind of control those long and narrow pathways. So maybe these teams have a specialist or 2. Some of those weapons I feel do merit being a specialist for.
Absolutely. And my opinion on the H3D right now is I see it as this like end game Splatoon, like the 20XX Splatoon weapon, where it's like once this game is developed and once the players are all like insanely good, I think the H3D is going to be one of the best weapons in the game because it's a very quick 3-shot kill. It paints well with a lot of range, and it gets those armors out. It's got a great sub weapon. It's just an all-around good kit with a good gun, but it kind of has this pretty high skill floor to it to be more useful than say like an NZAP with the same kit. And the reason I believe we saw Olive running it, and the reason they did so well with it, is because dude was actually a Cherry H3 Nozzle Nose player in Splatoon 1. So he already has a ton of experience with the H3, and I think that's probably why they decided to go with it. I know he's been waiting for an H3 Nozzle Nose variant in this game for a while that had a little bit of a better kit, and I guess he finally found it, and he's excited to play it in tournament.
And hey, if you can play a weapon like that, you may as well. Rainmaker Kelp Dome, so I know you have some experience casting games that happen here. What is
boy, I do.
What is your take on this? Why does it always seem like we have crazy pushes going back one way, back the other way? I know the game in the Olive set wasn't quite as tense as the one that you all had played, but still, we had both teams under 25 points on that push. So what's your take? Why does it always happen?
It's because the far left and the right sides, when you're trying to push into the opponent's tool, which is kind of like that choke point, it's really easy to get there, but that's where the push starts. Once you make it to the end of the street and you're trying to push the Rainmaker through that choke point, that's where your push really starts. And because of how small it is and because of how little distance you need to cover to actually get to that pedestal, it basically just becomes down to special play. It comes down to those aggressive pushes. Sometimes, and more often than not, is what gives us the good games, is it comes down to desperation. And you just kind of see these players making those really quick pushes through that choke point and trying to get as many points on the board as possible. Sometimes it'll catch you off guard. I'm going to stop talking because I don't know what just happened, but everybody but one player died.
So I'll tell you what happened there. You saw a quick exchange in the middle there where a couple of them went down, and then you saw Ethereal open up Gagaku there, get a big 2 kill, but the last one up was Serenity with that custom Jet Squelcher, and they outranged and took the last 2 members out. That was an incredible play to save what could have been a big opening push.
And Watson did try to grab the Rainmaker there, just to maybe try and get some points on the board, but I think it was more or less to stall the inevitable push coming out of Ethereal, I believe that is. Let me look at my colors really quick. Yeah, that would have been Ethereal, yeah. So they did grab that Rainmaker again just to kind of stall them out, make it so that they can't push. Looks like it's going to have to reset now, so I like the decision-making, good stuff there. A little bit of a neutral game in the middle of the map right now. There's 3v3. Both teams kind of looking for this advantage. It looks like Ethereal's going to grab this pop. They do have an option to take it left here, and they are going to take it left. They have one player jumping out, so there is going to be some defense here as soon as they drop this grade here. But Watson has a player with them. They're going to go down. It looks like, okay, so that's going to be a clean defense right now for Gagaku as they're going to be fixing up that Rainmaker. They're going to grab it and take it out of there. Not too many points on the board for Ethereal. 39 points isn't a ton on Kelpdom considering how fast the lead can switch back and forth in this map.
One build that I want to point out here, I don't know if you took a good look at Fumiko on that sloshing machine, using what a lot of people would call the Nike build there, all special saver on that. Use look up there, special's up. Special is going to be up on that sloshing machine the entire game. Not going to lose any when they go down. Going to build it right back up nice and quick and save it for those clutch moments like you talked about earlier.
Yeah, and the reason we see that come out a lot is because the sloshing machine is a very like non-gear dependent weapon. You can kind of get away with doing a lot of stuff, and you know when you've got quite arguably the best special in the game for Rainmaker, you know you might as well just run all that special saver so you can always have a Stingray pretty much no matter what. Dying is just not a problem. You can play aggressive, you can die, and you can respawn and still have your special to defend, which is what makes the machine with stacked special saver so strong right now.
Right, and I mean, you can use it from complete safety. It's got infinite range. You don't have to worry about being taken out by anything because you're sitting in your spawn circle.
As well as this is Kelpdom, it's a flat map. You only need to worry about one plane to hit people. Yeah, there's a lot of things that make Stingray strong, but right now it looks like Gagaku is sort of dealing with an Ethereal push here. Looks like they did mostly clean it up, and they're resetting back to the middle of the map here as they do have some map control. Oh, they're actually going for a push of themselves now. Marcus trying to get this Rainmaker into the backside of the tree area here. This is a very safe spot to hold the Rainmaker, but they're going to drop 2 players. They're going to drop 3 players once they drop the Stingray, and Marcus with a few kills here is going to try and keep this live as long as they can, but it's not going to last very long, but actually taking out 3 players to defend your push is pretty respectable. So good stuff there from Gagaku.
It is respectable, and they're able to get 2 extra people in because they were able to buy so much time there with that. They need to get a 3rd one around here. 2v1 is not going to be enough in this situation. The Stingray does finally come out. Someone needs to grab it, though. Clown, okay, Clown getting around right before that despawn, and then, yeah, that happens. That was just... there was some hesitation there, right? I think if they'd been able to grab that a little bit earlier, the Stingray wasn't out yet, they might have at least been able to push it into that tool or that doorstep. You know, I know I've heard it's been called both, but it's kind of in an awkward position right now. Very easy to defend for Ethereal.
And yeah, the Stingray is kind of what makes it so difficult. We got a Stingray coming up from each team and pulling the Rainmaker back to the backside of the tree area there, which is kind of where the grading is. There's not actually a tree there. There was a tree there in Splatoon 1, and people still call it tree, just for anyone confused. Bringing the Rainmaker back there is a fantastic idea because it's so difficult to push it back there. It can kind of use the Rainmaker blast to keep itself relatively safe against people trying to push into it. But the Stingray doesn't care about that because it's an infinite range laser that goes through walls. So the Stingray is kind of the counterplay to people camping the Rainmaker at the back there.
You know, when you put it out so plainly like that, it just shows you how wacky it is. An infinite range laser that goes... But that is Splatoon here. So we see a 4-down situation. Ethereal not only stopping the push, but picking it clean too. Nothing left on that plate. We're going to take back mid in this situation, which is so important on a giant map like Kelpdom. That also means that their specials are going to be very close to being charged. However, 2 of them going down, Clown making some big plays. Gray going to jump it down out of necessity as that full life goes back the other way now. 10 seconds left. There is going to be one last chance for Gagaku to make something happen here. Looks like Marcus going to grab it. I don't like that idea, although I suppose between Stingray and Splashdown, they are going to take that. Stingray coming the other way. Just barely going to be able to find it there. But hey, we talked about it way in the beginning. That's why you run Special Saver.
Yep, that's exactly pretty much what gave them just that easy overtime victory there is when you respawn and you're, you know, one little slosh away from getting a Stingray, and the enemy's got the Rainmaker in overtime. Like, it's just that simple. Like the dots connect themselves. You don't even need to do it. And yeah, Ethereal pulling up 2-0 right now over Gagaku. Gagaku did have the opportunity to make a push at the end there, but of course it was the Stingray that was going to shut that down. It wasn't really much of a big push that they needed to make, though, so that very well could have been a tied-up set. And considering the results of the first game, too, this could easily, very, very easily have been flipped on the scoreboard. Gagaku could very well be 2-up over Ethereal right now, but Ethereal's remaining strong in this set, and they got 2 games right now.
Got to make the plays. Got to make the plays, and so far it has been Ethereal making those plays. We're moving on now to Clan Blitz at Manta Maria. And as we saw in that first set, Team Olive did not score first. It was actually El Firmament that got the first score, but it took all 4 of them to get that first score. Right after that, the rest of the members of Olive rushed out into the middle, grabbed a bunch of clams. The last one came back out and grabbed that pity clam, the one that drops after your opponent scores. They ran in there using the mid and the claims that they had gotten. They super jumped to it and put a ton of points on the board right off the bat. And then at that point, it was just neutral and easy defense. They didn't even need to do anything else. So we'll see here which team ends up scoring first, because so often I feel like the team that scores first, if all they score is that power claim, they're almost at a disadvantage.
Yeah, the thing about Manta Maria is that it's such a, I don't want to say easy map to defend on, but defending on Manta Maria is very, very strong. Like, because pushing is difficult here. It's such a long distance between the center of the map and where the goal is, and you kind of have to go through either the right side jump or the street, basically to get there at any speed, at any fast rate, which is super easy for the enemy team to defend. They have a lot of ways to watch that and make it, you know, that much more difficult for you to get there without specials on the board. Like, you know, even if they do have those specials, it's going to make it that much more difficult. But Manta Maria is definitely one of those clan blitz maps that we see more often than not kind of getting stalled out. It's not very often that you see a knockout here.
And also, I mean, the claims are more spread out too, right? That's like,
Right.
That's just another thing that happens when you are on a big map here. We're going to see the Slosher Deco finally coming out here, as well as that custom Jet Squelcher that hasn't gone away. This is a custom Jet Squelcher main here. I love it.
Yeah, it's actually been picking up a lot of play recently. I think, I'm not really sure why it was never played originally, but it is now. Like everyone's kind of just like, oh, hey, this weapon's really good. I mean, I guess I did get a velocity buff recently, which is going to give it a little bit faster shots, and that's going to kind of help it kill a lot more. But right now we do have Ethereal. They did open this goal. They got a power clam plus a little bit of change in the goal there, down to 77 points right now. Gagaku with a quick defense, though, are going to clean that up. No problem at all as they're moving back into the center. Oh, Nile actually going to drop to a suction bomb a little bit, unfortunately, there. That's a pick that's going to give Ethereal another push here as they pop that armor, and they're looking for this power clam so they can get something go. We do have Frost here with this Enzap pushing up onto the bunker, making it that much more difficult for Gagaku to defend right now. Looking for this opening. If they find it, this could actually be bad, but it looks like Serenity's going to be jumping back for that Stingray. Going to pop it, and now Gagaku's going to be trying to push back in here, deal with these power clams, and not let them get anything else on the board.
There are actually 2 power clams on the board right now. I guess one of them is going to go away. No, it does just get away. Marcus was not able to get to it. So, you know, you always have to be worried about the counter push, right? When you have 2 power clams here, as you see Nile sneaking around the back, this is a map that you can make some sneaky pushes here off the side if you don't have it adequately defended. But still going back to neutral here. Once again, I feel like the neutral between these 2 teams has been very consistent throughout the set.
Yeah, both of these teams seem to be pretty comfortable fighting each other. Like they've got, I don't want to say similar comps, but they kind of run the roles, like the same roles on their roster. They've got like the long range and then, or the long range anchor, and then they have kind of like that specialist aggressiveness, and then they've got like, you know, the people painting. Very similar team comps in roles, not necessarily weapons. And I think that kind of makes both the teams' play styles kind of mesh with each other, which makes them very comfortable at actually taking each other on in these neutral fights.
I agree. And, you know, it is interesting to look at the long-range pressure that both teams do have. One is the custom Jet Squelcher, the other is that Rapid Blaster. The custom Jet Squelcher does have a little bit more range, but the Rapid Blaster offers just a tiny bit more utility, I feel like, in the neutral. 3 down here going once again. It is going to be the time now for Gagaku to make a push back. See if they grab I don't think they've grabbed their pity clam yet, so they might be able to make that jump in when they elect to. They have another one up here. The Stingray is going to come out. Marcus has to make this happen now. Ooh. They had a 3-down situation. We'll see if they're able to get it. Another 2 go down. You see Clown there up front. Marcus is going to have to run in. Oh no, the miss, maybe? I know I'm behind you right now, but I'm seeing this all in action.
Yeah, Marcus was able to actually open the goal there, and they do actually get the lead by throwing another one of those power clams. I believe that was that pity clam that they threw down there as they picked it up from the spawn. They are going to drop 3 players, so more or less a successful defense from Ethereal, but they lost the lead out of it. And again, Manta Maria is kind of one of those stall-heavy maps. And you know, there's just under a minute and 40 seconds left in the game. Ethereal kind of needs to make a push here, but it's not the most difficult to push to make. All they got to do is get 1 power clam in right now just to open the goal. That's enough to give them the lead. They only have a 10-point penalty. That's going to give them 20, bringing it down to 58. So Gagaku has some work cut out for them if they want to make a strong defense here. And right now they're 3 players down. They got to make something happen. Ben's pushing in. They don't have a power climb at the ready yet, but Wadsum's pretty close at 5, just halfway there. Got to pick up some more, get some team communication. The power climb is at the ready, and it's a little bit delayed. They're taking a little bit too long to get over this goal. It might be an opportunity. Oh, just kidding. Welcome to Clam Blitz, everyone.
Super jumping right in there, taking the lead and then some. They did just enough. Ben kept 2 players distracted there for like a day. They could just do nothing. They couldn't mount a defense or get to the positions they want. Some great, just very cognizant aggression there from Ben, right? I mean, there's a difference between aggression where you jump in to kill and where you jump in to help out your team. And Ben, as you see, still putting pressure on the other team, is doing just that right now. And he's showing why he's one of the better blasters in the game right now.
Yeah, I think the thing with Blaster is if you let it get in your backline and you don't deal with it, like, you can't let that happen. If there's a blaster in your backline, you need to focus it. You need to take it out. Otherwise, it's just going to farm kills. The thing about Blaster is that the more kills it gets, the more room it has to work with. It doesn't necessarily paint with the main weapon. The paint that the Blaster gets, and the reason why it works so well with momentum, is because the kills that you get give you so much ink and so much room to move around with that you normally just find 1 into 2 into 3, etc., etc. It's going to be an overtime push here for Gagaku, as they are looking for a little bit more than a power climb can provide, but they've got 2. Just getting both of those power climbs in the goal is going to end the game. Watson, that's actually going to be 2 players down, and the power climb's up at the front there. This actually could be it, but they need to go now. The power climb's going to open. They just need to grab that last one. That's all 4 players dead. This might be the win for Gagaku, and it is in an overtime push, a well-coordinated overtime push. Gagaku taking the win in Game 3 over Ethereal.
Wow, wow, wow. Coming back there just enough at the end, and you saw the desperation come in for Ethereal. They were jumping into pretty bad positions there, trying to make some plays happen, but what can you do when there's 2 power claims in that situation? But a great job by Gagaku, keeping just enough of them around, keeping just enough clams, knowing that both of them needed to score, not going in too crazily, tossing that one in ahead, because it does take a little bit for it to despawn. 2-1 now. Great job by Gagaku, just willing their way back into it.
Yeah, like, again, we saw both those first 2 games. They were insanely close for both teams. Maybe with the exception of Kelpdome, it wasn't really close, as you could say, but there was the potential for it to be close in that overtime push before that Stingray came out. So, you know, like, it was 2-0 in the first 2 games, but that's not to say that Ethereal's just winning that strongly over Gagaku. These are definitely evenly matched teams, and I'm excited to see what happens in the rest of the set.
Going to be moving on now to our 4th game, which is going to be Splat Zones on Gobe Arena. So this one was the biggest, I guess, steamroll in the first set, right? You saw the Rapid Blaster. You saw Sendou switch over to the Rapid Blaster, moving off of the more common blaster picks that he usually goes. The Rapid Blaster and Range Blaster both are so strong here. And additionally, this is one of the best maps for the long-range weapons. The snipers have a perch that they can go pretty much undisturbed unless met with another long-range weapon. Splatlings are great here as well. This is one that I feel like people are still figuring out, and figuring out what maps and modes, I'm sorry, not what maps and modes, what weapons they want to play on this map and mode. So we'll see. We might see the Charger come back out from Ethereal. I haven't seen a Splatling yet from Gagaku, so maybe that's not really something they opt to go. But I do feel like both of those are strong picks here right now.
Yeah, what I actually think is really strong on Gobe Arena is actually the combination of lethal bombs and ink jets. We see a lot of suction bombs, and we see a lot of people running those special power ink jets. And the reason for that is because the high ground is essential to Gobe Arena. You do not want to be in the bottom middle of the map where the zone is. That's a bad place to be because there's a lot of avenues for the enemies to take shots at you. So you want to be up on the high ground as much as possible. But look how small the high ground is. Just 1 or 2 bombs can completely zone you off that. So it's a very aggression heavy map, and kind of the way that it's built kind of makes bombs as well as weapons that can duel well in the middle of the map very, very strong. And we don't actually see any ink jets coming out from either team, so maybe they aren't opting to run those. But lots of lethal bombs, with the exception of the 2 burst bombs. Sorry, 3 burst bombs. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm completely wrong, because Ethereal right now, or sorry, Gagaku right now is running 0 lethal bombs, so never mind.
It looks like that's the idea, although we might see that come back to bite them here, because Fumiko is playing that charger we talked about earlier. Not zoning out Fumiko could be a big issue, as is not zoning out Gray, who's doing the exact same on this Rapid Blaster like we talked about. It's going to take a Stingray to get him off that perch, opting to pivot over here on this right side and try to meet the threat that's coming in. There should be just enough pressure here, as there almost is, but that Stingray going to paint the zone with the blood of their enemies. And this timer might take all the way down. Yeah,
no, that's
right
game.
here.
It's as simple as that. That's game. They're going to have enough time to kind of make it back to the middle of the map, but they're not going to be able to paint zone in time. There's absolutely no way. And Ethereal with a very, very quick game 4 is just going to take it over Gagaku, and that's going to make our set 3-1.
Well, this, and you know, as I look at this and I learn more about this map, right, this feels more like a Splatoon 1 map than even a lot of Splatoon 1 maps do, if that makes sense. It takes a long time to get back to the middle here. If you don't set up super jumps, it's gonna take you 20 to 30 seconds just to get a legitimate threat back on the zone. I mean, that was really what, only one or two times that we saw most players down, but it just takes so long to get back to the middle, takes so long to swim there. Half of that map isn't even inkable. You have to run down it. So yeah, this is the exact same match we just saw twice in 2 different sets with 2 different teams. It was the exact same match.
Yeah, I actually draw a lot of comparisons on that map to Port Mackerel from Splatoon 1, where it's kind of the situation where once you're out, and like that's pretty much game over. It's so easy to defend on the map, especially when you have those blasters able to hit up onto the high ground as well as the long range weapons watching it. That it's so difficult to push back in once you're out of control on Gobi Arena. And we basically just saw some textbook Splatoon play from Ethereal there. Get in, get the zone, wipe the enemy team, you're good to go. That's simple.
Looks like we got a lobby reset here. Working through this. This is a best of 9 set, so for those of you counting at home, that is 3-1 for Ethereal, but that is not the end of the set by any means. Going to be bringing this one back through. You see, can't join that friend yet. Watson with that Zero Suit Samus sticker there. I like it. I
do actually like. We're looking at Irix friends list right now. So, what do you think right now? Give me the critique on Irix friends list. I'd like to point out something. He's got a friend right now named Motor Car. The motor car is good, but I gotta say, Rosario of El Firmament really impressing me with that Toon Zelda. I have always been a fan of Toon Zelda. Wind Waker was one that I really loved when I was a kid. Did you ever play Spirit Tracks? I feel like you played Spirit Tracks. I played the first like half of Spirit Tracks and I never finished it.
Okay, but Toon Zelda or Ghost Toon Zelda, spoilers, in that game is one of my favorite characters. But Papa Hits, man, were you hit with the Hitzel bomb recently on Twitter? I know you saw that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. I saw that. You're talking about that huge tweet that blew up, right?
Not that one. I'm talking about the one that he reposted of several members of the community having gone through a face modification.
Oh yeah, they did that to me, and everyone says I looked hot. So, not sure how to feel about that one.
I'm kind of in the same boat. It looks like we are going to get back into it here once again. Maybe? No? Yes? Create private battle? But let's talk here. So, if you are Gagaku, you just got kind of blown out that game. But as we saw, El Firmament was able to bring it back. Here, and they were able to do it here on this next map, which was Sturgeon Shipyard. One thing they did that was very, very interesting, El Firmament. A lot of times if you have a sniper, you have the sniper ride the tower, right? I mean, it makes sense. The sniper's not the one that can move over. It just makes sense to do. They put the sniper up on that top perch area, on that grading area, and let that be the zoning tool that kept Team Olive's players from getting to it. And then they put a roller on the tower. Now, we've seen some chargers come out in this set. I wonder if we'll see a similar theme in this one.
Yeah, it's possible. We've definitely, at least I think we've seen some charger play from one of the teams in this set so far. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing, but chargers are very, very strong on Sturgeon Shipyard. Kind of as this game's developed, we've seen a lot more Firefin play on zones as well as regular spot charger play on all the other modes. bringing that Stingray to the board. And the reason being is that when you get your charger up on snipe, it puts this entire sheet of pressure onto the entire middle of the map, like pretty much the entire bridge section as well as the pockets in the side. The charger just has so much rain from where the bridge is when it's up, and as well as from where the boxes are on their sniper perch, that a sniper is a really good pick here just because it puts so much pressure on the enemy team. It really limits their movement options.
That it does. And, I mean, you know chargers are going to be great here. You know that Gray and Ben are both going to have field days on this. It almost feels like Ethereal is tooled to win at tower control. But we'll see. We'll see. I've loved the play that I've seen from Gagaku. Nile has made some huge plays on that blaster, too. We've been talking so much about Ben. We haven't even talked about the plays that Nile has been making. So, I don't know. We'll see. More than anything, though, I want to see Gagaku get off to a strong start, a quick start on this match to show that that last one was more of a fluke than we think.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, Ethereal definitely played strong there, and you know it might be. Oh yeah, I think it's safe to say it was a fluke. We definitely know that Gagaku is not a team that just got completely outclassed there. We saw how strong they played in these first 2 games. I think it was more or less they got unlucky, or they just dropped two team fights in a row where it was just like 1 or 2 mistakes that kind of led into it, just kind of feeding those kills away. It definitely was not a display of Ethereal being stronger, like that much stronger than Gagaku. It was absolutely a fluke. And I think going into a map like TC Sturgeon Shipyard, where it's a lot easier to get that defense off, we're probably going to see a lot of, a much different game than we saw on Gobi Arena.
It'll be interesting to see which team makes it past that first checkpoint, because unlike some other maps, I feel like this is one where getting past that first checkpoint is harder than it is on a lot of other maps, but it's very important to do so. There's a lot of places that you can reach it, I believe. Of course, snipers can reach from the grating, but I believe even a rapid blaster can reach from the grating.
And yeah, this is also another map that's really good for blasters and sloshers, just because, as we were talking earlier, that sniper perch is so good in Sturgeon Shipyard, just because of how much kind of view it gives you over that section of the map. There's not really much stopping you from shooting in a 360-degree circle. And, well, if that's strong, how do you deal with it? Well, blasters can shoot up there, sloshers can shoot up there, stuff like rapid blasters, maybe splatter shots to flank into the core once they jump off. I feel like a lot of Sturgeon Shipyard right now is about controlling the sniper, controlling the top area, the top snipe area, and having people that can deal with that push, having people that can defend from there, and kind of rotating around it is pretty much how you want to be winning Sturgeon Shipyard right now.
We'll see if that does come to fruition here. That custom jet squelcher is still going to be up. And both sides, once again, Fumiko going back to that Stingray build that also features the sloshing machine. We'll see Serenity and Fumiko both trying to save that for the most important moments, as Nile already going in, but Gray is going to continue. Gray, one of the best rapid blasters doing it now. Going to be a major issue for them if they're going to try to zone around him.
I actually remember Gray impressing us with the rapid blaster all the way back at the G7 tournament, the very first G7 tournament. I remember commentating a set on Humpback Pump Track where Gray just popped off with that weapon and solidifying themselves very early on as a rapid blaster player. And it looks like they have not dropped it since. I could be wrong. Maybe they took a short break here or there, but I believe Gray's been playing that weapon almost exclusively ever since the game came out. I could be wrong, but...
Well, it's one of those few weapons that hasn't really seen any sort of substantial nerf. I mean, I'm sure that somebody can point out to me that maybe the ink mine got changed a little bit, or the frequency of the suction bombs on the suction bomb, or the splat bombs on the splat bomb rush changed. But it's just a weapon that hasn't really been touched. Another weapon that has been good from the beginning, the splatter shot here, making its presence felt as Clown goes in. They call it out now, but nobody's on the tower. Oh, what a wasted opportunity. Ben was the one sharking around there. Ben is going to go down, but that's going to give Gray and the rest of Ethereal a chance to come back here and play defense. Clown had worked all the way up, had taken the entire pit for themselves, but just was not enough. Gray is going to go down to the combination of Serenity and Nile, but you can't help but feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than getting the enemy team 3 or maybe 4 players down and not having the tower moving for, a while, for a few seconds. Even just every second that the tower is not moving, when you see those 4 X's at the top of the screen, it just feels like an eternity. And that's probably what Gagaku's feeling like right now. They are up to 63 points, so it's something. It's more than Ethereal has right now, so like at least it's something, but it's definitely not what you want to sleep on.
No, it's not. And we talked earlier about how difficult that first checkpoint is to go. That's 3 attempts that we've seen now from Gagaku, and they have not made it past that first checkpoint. It is daunting. With 2 people down now, the 2 frontliners down. They're all down now. I don't think this one's going to stay stuck at this checkpoint very long.
Yeah, this is looking bad for Gagaku right now, as Ethereal is basically doing everything Gagaku didn't do when they had the opportunity to push, and Ethereal has total pin control. They're watching the flanks here. Frosh trying to find the pick onto that splatter shot, and they do, which means now their backside is watched. Fumiko's just going to ride that tower to victory right now. Just about to pass 20 points. The Stingray is going to come out and probably slow this down. They got to jump going onto the tower. They are going to pass that second checkpoint, which is a big milestone for them to make, as they don't need to go through it again. And that push is going to be completely neutralized now. Down to 17 points, though, already more than halfway through the game. That's going to be difficult for Gagaku to come back from that.
Yeah, 2 checkpoints. I don't want to say this one's over here, but it's going to take a massive push to the same magnitude they did and then some to get past it, because it's so much easier to play with a lead in this mode, right? Especially when you have Fumiko sitting up there on the Eternal Stingray build that we see so much. We got to come up with some more names for that build. Calling it the Nike build just isn't fun. There's got to be a better name.
Oh, I just called the Stingray, man.
The Stingray with a side of Slosh Machine. As we see Stingray coming out here now from this custom Jet Squelcher here. They've opened things up just a little bit here, but Gray is still up there. Gray is going to be able to reach and pressure that tower, taking out 1, 2. I mean, we've talked about it, but I swear the script writes itself. The Rapid Blaster can just reach from everywhere on this map.
Yeah, no, this is something that we talked about earlier, and here we're seeing exactly why. The Rapid Blaster, it's just got that perfect range that just really works well on this map. It kind of has those openings on a lot of areas that are important. It's just like a match made in heaven. Rapid Blaster and Sturgeon Shipyard.
Rapid Blaster and Sturgeon Shipyard, peanut butter and jelly, bananas and peanut butter.
It's like
peanut butter and everything.
52 deco on what is it? Port mackerel.
There's nothing good. There's nothing good about that. Stop. Say nothing positive.
Did I go too far?
Just a little bit. The unholy combination of that. Gray going to continue to do the same thing. It's just been zoning after zoning. I mean, even if they both go down here to this Stingray, which it looks like Gray is going to barely escape. Well, maybe not. Yeah, okay, just barely going to escape. This is just going to continue, right? We're going to need to see at least a 3 or 4 down situation for Gagaku to even get map control, much less make a push. And I just don't think Ethereal is going to give it to him.
And look at this. Ethereal is so comfortable with this lead, they don't even need to touch the tower. They're sitting in middle with full control. They don't even need to worry about the tower. They don't care. There's 17 seconds left in the game at this moment, and they've still got 2 players up. But they did drop that sloshing machine without its Stingray charge, which means this is going to be an opportunity for Gagaku. It's definitely going to take a pretty big opportunity for them to get the lead. As that Stingray does come out, they're just going to push some players up as soon as Frosh and Gray get into position here. That sloshing machine, you can't see them on the map. You know they're sitting in spawn. You know they're waiting to use that Stingray on the tower as soon as their teammates are in position. There it is. Stingray getting hit on the tower right now. Gonna get them off. That's 2 players, 3 players now down. No one on the tower. Game over. Going to Ethereal with a fantastic 17-point push in the first half of the game.
And I mean, that they had like 2 or 3 chances to mess that up, right? Even if that first Stingray didn't go through for some reason, they were still going to have to work through 2 checkpoints if they were going to lose that game. They had ample opportunity to make that play. And I mean, that's just what a big push early on gives it to you. Rapid Blaster, let's go.
They had a Stingray and time to charge another Stingray if they needed to.
Absolutely. I mean, that just goes to show, right? That's the big push. That's playing with a lead. That's it. Great play. Great play. 4-1 now, though. Now it's starting to get really dangerous. This is a best-of-9 set, so 1 more win and Ethereal will have taken this set.
Yeah, it's close. Gagaku's got to be feeling the pressure right now, and you're just 1 game away from getting the correct prediction. I believe you did say earlier, it's going to be 5-1 right now for Ethereal, and I guess 5-3. So I'm looking for Gagaku to impress right now.
We're going to be moving on to Rainmaker on Port Mackerel, though. So we've
been talking about Stingray.
Oh God,
you guys haven't seen anything yet.
You mentioned the Port Mackerel weapon too. Like you said that 52 gal deco. You could not make a better weapon for that map. If we don't see at least one of those, I'm going to be very surprised.
It's kind of like throwing to not bring 52 deco into Port Mackerel, honestly.
We will see both of these teams have some very capable shooter players. I know that it's not the same as playing a splatter shot or an NZAT, but on this map, this is one that you might make exception on. Serenity, I think, is going to be a big, big player on this map, though. The range that the custom Jet Squelcher has, along with the quickness, the burst bombs, that burst chip damage, as well as the Stingray, I think Serenity has a chance to really make their presence felt here on this map.
Yeah, stuff like that. Of course, the custom Jet Squelcher does bring that Stingray to the board as well. I feel like we're going to beat a dead horse here just talking about the Stingray, but it is just that important to Port Mackerel as well as just to Rainmaker as a game mode. Kind of the way that you can cheese Rainmaker on any map, but especially Port Mackerel. As soon as you see those opponents pick up that Rainmaker, you just pop your Stingray and kill them. Like, it's that simple. And basically the team who's able to control their Stingrays and keep up the aggression while dropping their Stingrays back to use them is the team that's able to find more opportunities to push and find more situations where they can get more points on the board.
I think aside from that, though, I think the story of the map is really going to be Clown and Nile, right? Those first couple of games, and especially the game they won where it was Clan Blitz, they were the ones that were pushing forward and making the openings for the rest of their team to kind of pivot around and make it happen. They're going to have to do the same. And outslaying a team of Ben, Watson, Frosh, Fumiko, I mean, that's very, very difficult to do. They move around very well, and they don't make a ton of mistakes. But I think it's going to take some very, very mammoth plays from those two players if they want to open things up.
And here we go, guys. This is possibly your last game of the set if Ethereal's able to take it. Rainmaker on Port Mackerel, and Gagaku's got some work ahead of them as they got to win 4 games if they want to take the W here.
Hey, you called it. Both teams have now brought out the 52 Galdecco. Neither team feels like throwing, I guess.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know why you would. We do still have, I believe that is 2 Stingrays from each team. Yeah, it's going to be 2 Stingrays from each team. So relatively tame for Port Mackerel. Sometimes we see 3. I've seen 4 once, but I think 4 is a little overkill. You definitely want to bring other specialists to the board. Either way, 2 down for each team in the middle of the map right now, but it looks like Gagaku is the one bringing the map control. And they're trying to look for a push here. They do have that Stingray finding another pick. That's 2 players already down. Seretti in the backline going to be sweeping. They're going to try and get some early points on the board here as they're still waiting for that respawn. Clown's going to be pushing up. They honestly just can go alone and just get a ton of points. Yeah, the Stingray's going to come out. The thing about Port Mackerel is when you're in a situation where you can push, just go. Because if you wait any longer, they're just going to Stingray you.
They're going to Stingray you, and additionally, if you manage to push it into one of these, past the enemy court and into one of those deeper alleyways, you can defend that. You can play a sort of aggressive defense there. It's very difficult for them to push it out of that situation, and you can always control whether or not they're going to get a reset as well. So, yeah, I agree with you. If you can push, do. And if not, and you sit back, you go 3 down once again, with Nile being the last one. A great shot there to kind of even the odds. And another because why not? And, man, all right. Nile turned that situation around almost single-handedly.
That was, you see this one person kind of fighting Nile, and he's just like, oh, hey, there's a guy here. Let me just quickly flick them and, kind of deal with that. I probably didn't even call it out to his team. He's just like, oh, yeah, they're dead. It was like, it was that simple. And then the jump comes in, too, and he's like, yeah, I got it, too. Don't worry. They're 2 down. Let's push.
Don't blink. Don't think. Just go, go, go.
It just seemed that calm. It seemed that comfortable.
Gonna see now some of the sweeping coming out here from the Stingrays. They do have both Stingrays up right now. I'm not sure which one of them is using it right now. I believe it is the Charger that is currently using it. So we'll see if they opt to use another one here shortly. Clown is going to pick up this Rainmaker here. Ben is going to be waiting, though, to kind of take that one down, and does so successfully. They just have to find a way to move. I feel like you have to get Ben out of the way first, right? That is objective A. If you can get Ben out of the way, then you can start to worry about the Stingrays. But you have to get rid of their frontline player first before you can even think about working past those Stingrays.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to push on Port Mackerel. When the enemy team has 2 Stingrays on their lineup, there's 2 ways to push on Port Mackerel. Both of those ways start with dealing with the front line. You need to take out those frontline players. As soon as you take out 1 or 2 of them, especially taking out the 52 Deco, the 52 Deco has a lot of value in Rainmaker Port Mackerel. Losing your 52 Deco at any given time is a lot worse than dropping anybody else, because not only is it a front line with a curling bomb, it also brings that Stingray to the board. So you really want to make sure you're keeping that 52 Deco alive. You want to make sure that player's playing defensively. That being said, there's 2 ways to push on Port Mackerel. You either kill the Stingrays or you just push into them and reset the Rainmaker over and over. And it looks like Gagaku's opting for that latter option, as they said, well, we can't kill them. Let's just go and get as many points as we can. And 57's not a ton, but it's at least putting a little bit of pressure on Ethereal right now.
And that was almost like a glorified punt, right? They had a bunch of them down, and Ethereal was starting to push the other way. They realized, okay, we've got to do something here to at least slow down the advance of the enemy team, and they did just that by running it the other way. That bought them an extra like 10 or 15 seconds or so, but now Ethereal's offensive pressure might end up being just a little bit too much as they do take a lead. 45 isn't as disastrous as it could have been. They're going to have to find a way to clean them up here, as Ben is just going to continue to rotate around here and put more pressure on them.
And this is exactly why Ben is just playing so well with the blaster right now.
Oh, that was nice.
That was a really good shot. All you need to do is just be annoying. The thing with the blaster is, like, no one, if you take a shot from the blaster, no one's going to sit there and let you get another shot off. They're going to back off. They're going to stay safe. So just being there is enough to pressure the enemy team into a bad situation where you can possibly get a push off, exactly like we're seeing right now.
Buying just enough time for them. It's I love it when Rainmaker kind of becomes like a attrition here with this. The idea that every push now you're starting to run into the last 45 seconds of the game, and it's like now every chance you have gets magnified because you only have a couple more of them. Ben goes down there. Two of them go down. Big kill from Nile there. They needed that double to even give themselves a chance to get back to mid, much less have a chance of winning this. They're going to jump up here, and now come the Rays, right? One of these is going to come down now. That's going to take it out, but they're going to have one more Stingray here if they do manage to get a pop here. So we're going to see it now. You're going to have to come up really big here. We're talking 2 or 3 down. Not able to get Watson. Has to use that splashdown a little bit early. Does take 1 down with 15 seconds left. There's still a chance.
There's no Stingrays charged. Ethereal doesn't have any Stingrays charged right now. One of them's definitely close. It looks like there's the 52 Galdecko. It comes up. And if Serenity can survive this Stingray, this might be pretty good for Gagaku. You need to survive the Stingray, though. That's 3 players down. This might be it. No, it was just that close to getting the first bomb. Just at the very end of the game. So close to taking the lead. It was that close. But that burst bomb was the set winner for Ethereal.
Crazy clutch at the very, very end of that, doing just enough to get that win. Ben, you see there with 14 KA, but they did everything perfect. They did everything right. They survived the last Stingray. They waited the one out previously, and then they took out the only other thing that could have used Stingray. They did everything right, but it still wasn't enough. Ethereal closing things out with the big plays once again. We've talked about it so much. Sometimes you can do everything right, give yourself the perfect situation, and the big players make the big plays. 5-1 for Ethereal. My prediction is right, but that is one of the closest 5-1s I've ever seen.
Yeah. And no, definitely good on you for calling the pred there. You got it. You definitely got it right. 5-1, and it's definitely not what I expected to see. But like you said, it was one of the closer 5-1s that we've probably ever seen in a best of 9 set. That was ridiculous.